Welcome back. This is part 2 of week 1. We had been discussing the course text and some of the course expectations, and I will continue by giving you some tips for success that can also be found in your course syllabus. First, it's very important for the online course to practice self-discipline, which means you should designate a place and a schedule for specific times to work on the course. I will give you my recommendation for how you should structure your time in a few slides. Second, it's very important to consult the course schedule in the syllabus, pages 10 to 14. That's a general overview of all assignments and their due dates so you can plan ahead. Third, make sure to print out that weekly checklist. It's going to be the first thing posted in your weekly block, and it will detail everything you need to do that week. Also, familiarize yourself with all of the resources on Titanium. They are there to help you. Check your Cal State Fullerton email daily. All of the new announcements posted to Titanium automatically go there. Make sure to submit your best work always, essentially is what that says. If for some reason you can't submit your best work on time, please let me know so we can make some alternate arrangements, because I really only want to see your best work in this course. And then lastly, make sure to review the class participation rubric and all of the assignment rubrics as a guide. If you are new to Titanium, you can check out the Intro to Titanium screencast. You can view the posted Titanium tools from the IT department. You can click on the Titanium tab in the student portal for more info, and there's always the help desk. There is their contact information. They have a pretty fast turnaround, so they'll get back to you quickly. Now everybody wants to know, how do I get an A? It's really not as hard as you would think it is. Here are my tips for getting the A. Number 1, read all of the articles and the textbook. It is a meaty one, but it's also very good. Second, show evidence that you've done the readings through your discussion posts and your work. Apply what you're reading about. Cite evidence from what you're reading in those discussion posts. Next, make sure to watch the screencasts and lectures. I've been told that I could maybe talk a little faster and say a few less ums, so I'm really working on that this semester, but it's a little hard when you're put on the spot talking and narrating these. Next, use the rubrics and the samples. They're there to help you. Submit your assignments on time. I think that bullet alone is what holds a lot of students back from getting an A in this course. They just let the work pile up and they don't email me to let me know that they're having some problems. They're not very proactive about that. I definitely want to see you complete this course, to learn as much as you can, and to complete it with an A. So please make sure you're making your best effort to get your assignments in on time, and if something comes up, I'm happy to be flexible with deadlines as long as it's not every week. So be proactive with that. Again, here's the timeliness policy. We already went over it, but I do have to stick to this, so please make sure you are aware that weekly discussion posts and participation activities are not accepted late. Everything else, you only have a week grace period unless we've made an alternate arrangement. Time requirements. Being that this is a 3-unit course, we are expected to spend 3 hours in class each week. So even though we're not typically meeting in a classroom, we still have to do classroom-like activities for 3 hours each week. So this will be done with 1.5 hours of lecture, then about an hour for your practicum with your student, that hands-on time, and then 30 minutes or so of a discussion or participation activity. So that's how we're meeting the 3-hour in-class each week time. You can also expect 3 to 7 hours of out-of-class. 7 hours is very rare unless, for example, you're completing your group presentation or some of the other bigger projects that we'll have this semester. There's typically about an hour of reading, and then you have 2 or more hours for additional assignments. So those are the time requirements for the course. My recommendation to you for structuring this time Saturday to Sunday. So Saturday, I will have the new content posted. Some weeks it'll even be up Friday or earlier. I try to get it to you as quick as I can, but Saturday morning at the latest, it will be up. When it's up, make sure you read the checklist, print it out, watch the lectures, complete the readings, and do your participation activity. So if you get all of those pieces done the first weekend, you don't have to worry about them throughout the week. So then on Monday and Tuesday, you can make your assessment plan, you can prep for your student session, and then maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, meet with your student. I would try to meet with them on Tuesday, so if something happens on Tuesday, they're sick or something, you have Wednesday and Thursday as a buffer to reschedule, because Friday and Saturday you're going to be wanting to work on your assessment reflection from the week and submitting that. So that's my recommendation. This class used to be Wednesday to Wednesday, and I like the idea of switching it to Saturday because it actually gives you 2 weekends to work on all of the assignments. So try to follow this structure. I think it will help you. Assignments, rubrics, and samples will always be provided. We have 5 big assignments that are described in the syllabus a little more. First are the class participation activities worth 20% of your grade. Typically that'll be a discussion forum, but it also might be something else like participating in the Google Doc, or this week it's updating your profile. There are different things for that. Assignment number 2 are the weekly assessment artifacts and reflection with 25% of your grade. So each week, let me go back. Each week you will be making a plan of the assessments you're going to give. Then you are going to input the data from the assessments given and then do some interpretations of the data. So you're going to submit that to me weekly on Titanium along with all of the actual assessment materials. You can either take a photo or you can scan them and attach them in an email, but I want to see evidence of all the assessments being administered so I can make sure that you are actually following the protocols and doing the assessment correctly and really maximizing that assessment. The third assignment are the practicum videos. Those are worth 15% of the total grade. There are only 6 for the entire semester, so those aren't happening every other week, just when there are some of the trickier assessments to give. Assignment 4 are the response to intervention plans. They're worth 20%. So what's going to happen is at the end of our first installment of practicum sessions, you're going to work with student number 1 for 5 weeks. At the end, everyone is going to compile all of their data for their student in a class grid. So we're going to have data on all of the students that all of you have been working with, and then we're going to make a response to intervention plan looking at that data, doing groupings, determining what groupings make sense based on the data, and making recommendations for intervention. That will then happen again after you finish working with your older student. We'll compile a class grid again using your individual results and then make an intervention plan. So those are due weeks 11 and 16. And then lastly, assignment number 5 is your evaluating assessment group presentation, or 20% of your grade. So you are going to self-select and use the Google Doc that is linked in your weekly checklist. You're going to sign up for a different domain of reading, either effective, early literacy, vocabulary comprehension, word recognition, any of those, writing, spelling. And then from there, you will be grouped, and your group will make a presentation where you will discuss that domain, discuss the different assessment options, you will discuss the limitations or the strengths of the assessment, show some student work from the assessment, try it out. Lots more to talk about for that project, and I will get to that later in the course when you need that information, but you can read about it in the syllabus now. So weekly assignments, typically there will be a few things due each week, so it's really important that you make a plan that works for your schedule to get all of these things completed weekly. The weekly assessment plan and reflection That's going to be due each week after you're done working with your student. So you need to work with your student earlier in the week to allow yourself time to complete that. I definitely scaled that assignment down when I inherited this course. It was a pretty big assignment due each week. So I definitely took it down to more of a fill in the blank sort of template. So it's a little bit easier for you to complete. You'll also have to submit all of the assessment artifacts for the assessments that you did administer. There may be a video. There's only 6 for the whole semester, so it's about every other week, but it doesn't always work out that way, whereas the weekly assessment plan and the artifacts are happening every week when you're working with students. And then sometimes there might be a participation activity, but remember that participation activity is typically required as part of our in-class meeting time for our 3 hours. So those are the big things due each week, and it is important to schedule out. The participation activity may be a discussion, or we may do some scenarios where I'll actually post an assessment and have you, as the literacy specialist, analyze that. I may ask you to provide an assessment that the class can analyze if you think you have some noteworthy findings or something interesting to share or need some help or want to collaborate on that. All right, I think this might be a good stopping point to come back and talk about assessment key terms, and then this will be our last part of lecture for this week.